Good evening. Welcome to Missouri Southern State University and KGCS-TV's Joplin School Board Candidate Forum. Tonight, we welcome 5 of the 7 candidates vying for 3 positions on the Joplin School Board, the election taking place on April 4th. The candidates include Jeff Koch, in his 2nd term on the Joplin School Board and currently serving as its president. He works as a senior commercial manager at Umicore Optical Materials. Derek Gander is a 2-term school board member elected in 2017 and 2020 and currently serves as the vice president of the Board of Education. He is the owner of Premier Home Inspection in Joplin. Marta Schroeder is retired after spending 28 years in Joplin schools as both an educator and counselor. This is her first time as a candidate. Matthew Robertson is a 2nd-time candidate for Joplin School Board. He owns the Technology Center in Joplin. Robertson is a Joplin Schools alum and has 3 children in Joplin schools. And Michelle Steverson is the Safe Kids Coordinator at the Alliance of Southwest Missouri. This is her first time running for the school board. Not attending tonight are Veronica Gatz-Sherrick and Michael D. Landis. Now, our forum will begin with each candidate having 1 minute to introduce themselves and tell us why they want to serve on the Joplin School Board. Then they will each be asked 5 questions prepared by the MSSU Political Science Department via Professor William Delahanty. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to answer. We will work our way down the line of candidates, giving each a chance to be the first to answer a question. After the candidates have answered our prepared questions, we will open the forum to questions from our guests here in the council chambers, time permitting. Questions can be directed to all candidates or to an individual candidate, but once answered by that candidate, other candidates are able to answer the question posed. Let's start with Jeff. Tell us about yourself and why you want to run for school board.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Koch. I am a resident of Joplin. We've lived here since 1996. My wife and I have 4 kids that have grown up in the Joplin schools. 3 have graduated kindergarten through high school, and I've got 1 Razorback and 2 Bears that have graduated from college, and I've got 1 boy that's 17 that's a junior this year. So we come with a parent perspective, and I think there's a lot to learn as a school board member, and not having anybody in our family, in our immediate vicinity that works for the school. We come at it as you might, and I think there's an opportunity to have an outside look in towards the school, and I'd like to be able to provide that introspection and try and do what I can to help improve our schools.
Thank you, Jeff. Derek Gander, now will you tell us why you are running for Joplin School Board?
So I'm Derek Gander, small business owner here in Joplin. I have 2 children in the district, 1 at the high school, and 1 at South. One of the reasons that I wanted to run is I want to be a voice for the students. I think it's an important role that we play. I think every person should throw themselves out there and get on the board. Everybody makes a difference. But that's one of the reasons that I ran and kind of who I am.
All right. Thank you, Derek. Marta Schroeder.
Well, as Lisa mentioned, I've served Joplin schools for 28 years as a teacher and a school counselor. And after I retired, I wanted to continue serving Joplin schools. I care about this school district, and I care about the Joplin community. I spent the last 19 years working with at-risk students at the high school and their families, and it's important to me to be there for Joplin students, but also for everyone in Joplin, because as our schools go, there goes our community. So that's why.
All right. Thank you, Marta. Matthew Robertson, tell us why you are running for Joplin School Board.
Hello. I'm running for Joplin School Board because I believe that education is one of the most important things we do in the community. I believe that good people have to be involved in education in order to provide the quality outcome we need for our students. I was born in Dunaweg. Well, I was born in Joplin, but I grew up in Dunaweg. I went through Joplin schools, through Dunaweg, South Middle School, the junior high, and then the high school. I've got 3 kids in the district at Irving. I've been married for 12 years. And I've worked in both corporate environments, educational environments, and nonprofits. And before my current job, I worked at Neosho School District for 6 years. And I want to take the knowledge that I have, both in technology and working in education, to apply to the school board to help with decisions that are practical, that are helping our students.
Thank you, Matthew. Michelle Steverson, tell us about yourself and why you're running for school board.
My name is Michelle Steverson. I'm the Safe Kids Coordinator at the Alliance of Southwest Missouri, and I have 3 reasons on why I'm running for school board. One is for our students and teachers. I believe we have a tremendous amount of wonderful teachers in our district, and I believe we need to bring those teachers to light and give them the recognition that they deserve. I am also, the second reason why I'm running for school board is for our alternative programs. I myself was an alternative student in high school. I did attend Joplin schools, and those programs are super important. And we need to continue to make sure that our alternative students have the same opportunities that are afforded to our traditional students. And my final reason for running for school board is our trade and technology programs, both for high school students and adult students.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, to our first question, prepared by Professor Delahanty. As a candidate for the Joplin School Board, please explain how your professional or other experience prepares you for a position on the board. Be specific about the relationship between your experience and the work you will do on the board. We'll begin with Mr. Koch.
Thank you. So first of all, for the last 19 and a half years, I've worked for a material science company dealing with germanium. It's a long story, but we'll get there. But during that time, I've held commercial roles, and in those commercial roles, it's basically finding out the needs that we've got from companies that want to do business with us and what we can offer, and finding a way to maximize the outcome from both. And so I think if we look at what do parents need, what do students need, what do teachers need, what do staff need, I think I can bring those pieces together as well. I also worked for 6 years as the All-Pro Dad captain for 2 of our elementary schools, and that's given me the opportunity to meet with multiple parents. One day a month, we would come in and talk with parents and have a nice program for the kids and help provide them a moral lesson like responsibility or not quitting or being able to follow up, those type of things. And that's something that I want to express. And then the final piece, military intelligence strategist.
Time's up. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Koch. Derek Gander, explain your professional experience, preparation for the board, and the relationship between that experience and the work you'll do on the board.
It's hard to follow that one, Jeff. So I'm a small business owner, and things that pertain to the school district is being fiscally responsible. Like Jeff, I have a military background as well. So I think running a business and being a parent at the same time, with the board goes hand in hand. I deal with real estate agents on a daily basis, so the professional side, and on the other side, I am a dad. But I think the experiences with owning a business, being able to run a business, a startup, I've been doing this 18 years, helps give leadership and fiscal responsibility, which I think are 2 key points on being on the board.
Thank you, Derek. Marta, tell us about your professional experience that you've had and the relationship between that experience and the work you want to do on the board.
All right. First off, as a school counselor, I spent most of my time problem solving individually with students and with students and parents. You learn to think fast on your feet, and you learn to do a lot of research. I'm an excellent problem solver, and was the go-to person for community people and also individuals in the district to contact to gather demographic information for grants and such. It wasn't necessarily my role, but I was the person that they knew could find the information. I worked with the master schedule for 13 years, so I'm very knowledgeable as to how teachers and staffing can impact a school function and how trying to replace a particular teacher can impact the education and impact our students' lives. I have become an excellent listener. I can
Time's up. Thank you. Matthew Robertson, tell us about your professional experience, how it prepares you for the board, and the relationship between your experience and the work you'll do on the board.
So for the last 18 years, I have worked in the technology field, both, like I said, in corporate and in nonprofits and in education. And I think having that, with technology being such a large piece of how we're educating students, I think I will be able to bring the knowledge to help make wise choices and the troubleshooting skills and the working through problems will help me with working with our teammates on the school board to help find the best solution to finding issues why our students aren't performing and then finding a solution for it.
So, thank you, Mr. Robertson. Michelle Steverson, tell us about your professional experience, how it prepares you for your position on the board, and the relationship between the experience and the work you'll do on the board.
So I have had multiple different careers throughout my life. I was a 911 dispatcher for almost 10 years. I worked for Joplin High School, or the Joplin Schools District, for almost 8 years at the high school and at Franklin Tech Adult Education. And I worked for small nonprofits, and I also worked for my dad, who is a small business owner here in Joplin, Missouri. And I think the variety of jobs that I have held help me get that experience to and connect to our community and be able to listen and react quickly, thanks to the 911 dispatching, but also just bringing a different side to our board.
Thank you, Michelle. Our second question, and we'll begin with Derek Gander. What is your most significant weakness, and how might it affect your work on the board?
Let's see. You know, I have, and my phone is always open to any parent, any teacher. My biggest weakness is I want to be able to take care of that problem the minute they call. And one of the things that we learn on the board is this is a board. One person cannot save the world or, take care of everybody's problems. Military background, we know the chain of command, and being able to direct people, hey, you have to follow the chain of command. I think my biggest weakness is I have a soft heart for everybody. It's difficult for me to tell them, hey, you've got to make this phone call or this phone call following that chain of command, because I do want to take care of it. And I think, knowing now that it is a board, my first phone call is generally my board president, and then we follow the chain of command from there.
Thank you, Derek. So what is your most significant weakness, Marta, and how might it affect your work on the board?
Oh gosh, let me get the list. I echo some of the things that Derek said, but I would say probably no, saying no. I don't do that very well, and I have to start learning to do that.
Brief answer. All right, thank you, Marta. So Matthew Robertson, your significant weakness, how might it affect your work on the board?
I believe my significant weakness is I'm a people pleaser. I've seen it in my business, and I've seen it just in life in general. I like to help people, and I like solving problems. And sometimes I get ahead of myself and, jump in feet first and then learn how to swim while I'm, in the water. But I do also know the role of the school board is to act as a conduit between the citizens and the school district. So I know that I will be interacting hopefully a lot with Dr. Saketa and helping make good choices and resolving problems for our citizens.
Thank you, Matthew. Michelle, what is your most significant weakness? How might it affect your work on the board?
I would have to say probably a little bit the same as Derek. I have a very caring heart, and I would like to also take care of problems right away. I see somebody hurting, I want to fix it. So it would definitely be a little bit hard for me to be like, sorry, we got to do this. Chain of command, of course, not just with military, but also in your job, in your daily job that you have as well. There's typically a chain of command that you have to follow. So I would say just having a soft, caring heart might be my biggest weakness, but also my greatest strength.
Thank you, Michelle. And finally, Jeff Koch, what is your significant weakness, and how might it affect your work on the board?
I think one of the things that I find out about myself is I like to dig deeper than the first answer, and I like to look at things on a bigger picture. How does it impact this? How does it impact this? And that takes more time. And a lot of times solutions are needed immediately, but I'm always thinking to the second or third step of, if we do this, then what happens, and what precedent do we set, and how do we keep from spiraling out of control by solving something that maybe seems easy. So sometimes overthinking a solution might be something, but like everybody else here, the reason we're here and the reason we're here tonight is because we want to serve. We want to serve our students, our teachers, our public, and that's why we're here.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Question number 3. We'll begin with Marta Schroeder. Is the current level of public funding for Joplin schools adequate to meet the needs of its students? If so, why? If not, why not?
I would say that the current level of funding is not adequate to meet the needs of our students. We need more classrooms. We need more teachers. We need more buses for transportation. Maybe we could get all schools to start at the same time rather than having the staggered start time. We need more paraprofessionals. There are many things that we need, and with the current level of funding, we can't provide all of that for our students.
Thank you, Marta. Matthew Robertson, is the current level of public funding for Joplin schools adequate to meet the needs of its students? If so, why? If not, why not?
I think education is the most important thing we do in a community. I think it should be expensive. I think our professionals who graduate from not only undergraduate and graduate schools should be compensated accordingly. I think our public schools should be cathedrals where we are teaching the brightest minds to do the best work throughout the world. Unfortunately, not everyone agrees with that, and it's also, unfortunately, it's not as practical as ideologically we'd like it to be. So are we currently funded? No, probably not. But there are always opportunities to find improvements, and I think if we sat down and looked at the budget and we put a priority on a particular instance, we can find the money for it. We need to do a better job of working with the community to find alternative sources of income and not just be reliant on federal government and state government to provide the quality outcome we know we need from our students.
Thank you, Matthew. Michelle Steverson, is the current level of public funding for Joplin schools adequate to meet the needs of its students? If so, why? If not, why not?
I will have to mirror some of those statements. I do not believe that we have enough funding. Being in the schools, I know there's need for more classroom space, and you also get what you pay for, I believe. If we cannot offer a good, challenging pay scale for not just teachers, but our custodial staff, our secretaries, our lunch ladies, then we get the best that we can get when we offer a really high competitive wage. I believe looking and outside resources, not just for state and federal money, but also looking to the community and just trying to find ways to find more funding for our schools and teachers.
Thank you, Michelle. Jeff Koch, is the current level of public funding for Joplin schools adequate to meet the needs of its students? If so, why? If not, why not?
Yes, I believe that the amount of funding is adequate. Since 1999, we've had $153 million worth of bond issues. We have some of the most fantastic schools, buildings, and facilities around. I think we need to prioritize on the education side of it. Facilities are great and you need them, but I can tell you that 2 of the best years that my kids had were at the Dog Food Warehouse Middle School, which wasn't anything other than teachers in a classroom and maybe a couple posters on the wall. The education is what's important. It's not necessarily the buildings around it. We need to keep track of our things. That's great. I'm happy to keep up with things. But I think when bonds come time to expire, we need to let them expire. If we voted for a forever bond, that's fine. But most people voted for a 20-year bond. So when that bond comes time to expire, you need to let it expire.
Thank you, Jeff. Derek Gander, is the current level of public funding for Joplin schools adequate to meet the needs of students? If so, why? If not, why not?
Man, I'm tired of following this guy here. We look at it, and this is a hard question, I think. We want every one of our teachers and staff to be paid more. Where do we find the money? I don't know. I know right now, Joplin Schools, Shelley has us, and even Dr. Langford had us moving in this awesome, positive direction, and our funds are in double digits, and but money is hard to come by, and unfortunately, we rely on government, state and federal. Would I love to see more? Oh my gosh, yes. Our teachers are number one. I mean, even our bus drivers, they make first contact with our children every single morning. So I think every single person in the district that works for the district deserves a raise. Where we come up to money, I don't know what it is. That's why we have the people in place to find those things for us. But I would love to see more. So.
All right. Question number 4. We'll begin with Matthew Robertson on this one. If you could get board approval for one new project, program, or educational activity, what would it be and why?
One project? Just one?
One.
Okay.
Gotta pick
I
your
think
favorite.
it would be a stipend for teachers to decorate their classrooms. It's disheartening, and it hurts a little bit to hear about teachers spending hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars out of their pockets to provide Kleenexes and art supplies and posters for stuff that's going to stay in the room to help their students. I think we as a district, we need to take responsibility for that and not lean on our teachers to take money out of their own pocket to do that. I've given extra to my students' teachers because it's that important. I know not every parent can afford to do that, but I want the best learning environment, not for just my kids, but all the kids in the classroom. So that's what it'd be. It'd be money for that.
Teachers for the classrooms. Thank you, Matthew. All right, Michelle Steverson, if you could get board approval for one new project, program, or educational activity, what would it be and why?
So I had the opportunity to visit with some of the leaders at Joplin Schools today and talk to them about a program called Sources of Strength. And if it was one program, it would be for that. It is a peer-led suicide prevention program with adult advisors, of course. But it really focuses on a culture shift in our schools, and it talks about realizing the students' strengths and that they can lean on one another. And it's a very important thing right now, especially with students after the pandemic, to focus on their mental health. Everybody's kind of done a lot of inwardness, and we need to let those kiddos know that, hey, you can break out of your shell. We're here to help you and support you.
Thank you, Michelle. Jeff Koch, if you could get board approval for one new project, program, or educational activity, what would it be and why?
I'm going to stick with, I'd like to bring back Academic All-Stars, where we celebrate the positive performance of our students. We can also celebrate the gains of those that are making gains and growth. That's great. But I think when we stopped celebrating the successes, it took a little bit of the focus off of those students that maybe would achieve. And I'm happy to announce that we are going to start that back up next week. April the 3rd, they're going to start Academic All-Stars again for the middle school. So a little bit of foreshadowing. We've had an opportunity to do that, and I appreciate everybody. And it's something that doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but it can have a big impact, is celebrating the wins with our students and our teachers.
Thank you, Jeff. Derek Ander, if you could get board approval for one new project, program, or educational activity, what would it be and why?
On this question, I align exactly with Jeff. I am so glad that the All-Stars are being brought back. The one thing that I would like, or that I would get behind, is one project is to teach parents how to navigate Canvas, how to get in contact with teachers and things like that, because as a parent, it is difficult. Navigating Canvas, I don't know how many parents have ever tried to do that. I'd much rather be hit in the head with a hammer than try to figure out if my son's turning in or my daughter's turning in homework and what their grades are. So one project I think is very important, and is getting the parents on the same page. And also you get the parents involved, and that makes for better education of our students. Unfortunately, we have parents that don't know and they get frustrated, and we spend an entire evening trying to figure that out. So that is one program that I think would benefit everybody, students, parents, teachers, everybody on the same page.
Thank you. Marta Schroeder, if you could get board approval for one new project, program, or educational activity, what would it be and why?
And this is one that I've lobbied for several years. I would like to see us add more coursework and elective coursework, and also programs through Franklin Technical Center for our students in special education. At the high school level, there are a lot of students who look at the schedule and see no courses that they're able to take. And I would like to see us offer coursework for all of our students, not just our top students, and not just our at-risk students, but also the special education students.
Thank you, Marta. Question number 5, our last prepared question. This one, we will begin with Michelle Steverson. How important is it to you that schools avoid teaching content that the broader community might find controversial or objectionable? I can repeat that if you like. How important is it to you that schools avoid teaching content that the broader community might find controversial or objectionable?
That's a tough question to answer. How I feel about something may not be the same way that other, like Matthew or Marta, Jeff, or Derek feel about the subject, which is why we have the board, so we can talk about those differences and what we would support and what we wouldn't support and decide what's best for students. I myself would have to look at something objectively and be able to come there without a bias and be able to make that decision.
Thank you, Michelle. Going to Jeff Koch, how important is it to you that schools avoid teaching content that the broader community might find controversial or objectionable?
I think it's important that people have moved here, lived here, grown up here, and have the values of our community. I don't think we should share the same, teach the values of Texas, Florida, California, New York, Seattle, no offense. Any of those places, I think we should teach the values of Joplin, Missouri, because that's where we are, that's where our kids are, that's where we want them to be, and that's why we're here. So we do need to be cautious that we're not bringing in ideas that are objectionable to the general population of our community.
Thank you, Jeff. Derek Gander, how important is it to you that schools avoid teaching content that the broader community might find controversial or objectionable?
There again, I align with Jeff. I would like to add California. There are things that happen in different parts of the country that might be fine and work for those people and their children, and here that doesn't work. The controversial can go so many different ways. I mean, are we talking about books? Are we talking about lifestyle? I mean, that's such a broad question. And I think, I consider myself just an old country boy, just old redneck. And that's what I like to see. I mean, a handshake is just as good as a contract. But in California, it's not like that. South Dakota, it's not like that. So I think that we need to concentrate on what's going on here, but also give these broad horizons that our students, when they go out, they're not sheltered. When they do go abroad. Man, that's a difficult question there. Can you be more specific, please? Time's up.
Marta Schroeder, question number 5. How important is it to you that schools avoid teaching content that the broader community might find controversial or objectionable? And as you all know, I mean, there are controversial issues that school districts deal with in the news, so a variety of them, rather than get specific. Marta.
I would say it's important to me that the board review anything that's going to be, we feel may be a controversial issue, that the board review that, and that they have community input. Before something is taught or brought into school that the board feels or the administration feels we may have some issues with the community, we need community input on it so that the community can be heard. It may not always change the board's vote or the outcome, but still the community needs to be heard.
Thank you, Marta. Matthew Robertson, how important is it to you that schools avoid teaching content that the broader community might find controversial or objectionable?
I think the first thing we need to realize is facts are facts. And some people will come at it from an emotional decision of what this particular subject would be. What we're teaching our students must be age appropriate and must be factual, because we're preparing our students to face the world. And I don't think there's controversy when it comes to facts.
Thank you, Matthew. So that wraps up our prepared questions. And now we will open our forum to questions from guests in the council chamber who signed up at the door to ask a question. These questions can be directed to all candidates or to an individual running for school board. However, if the other candidates choose to respond to that question, they can if they wish. Responses should be limited to 60 seconds. And I know our first person on the list was Charlie McGrew. If you'd like to come forward and ask your question.
The direction of the conversation went forward where I wanted to talk to. So we've all seen this way that community and parent input has been discouraged across the country. While I don't expect to see that kind of a response in Joplin, I just don't. I think we're above that. Although I've thought about whether I should say this or not, but one of the candidates who previously served and is not here tonight made it pretty clear when he was on the school board that he was not in favor of any community input. So my question is, how receptive will you be to community and particularly parent input, and how specifically would you implement that to see if you can get input from the community, and again, particularly from parents? This is for everybody, yes. I'm sorry.
I buzzed in first here.
And Derek, I was glad to hear that last comment you made about getting the parents involved.
Charlie, I think the most important thing, number one, is communication. I don't care if it's marriage. I don't care if you're raising a son or a daughter, you're doing it by yourself. The key to everything is communication. We can't be a better board, or we can't serve our district in the best capacity if we don't have input from parents or our stakeholders. I mean, hypothetically, you guys fund everything we do. You make decisions. If we make a decision to do something, you guys fund it, or we fund it, because I'm a taxpayer as well. But communication is key. And when it comes to the parents having access to us, my phone number's posted. I think everybody's phone number is. We have to communicate with them. There should never be a time that we say, no, I'm not going to talk to you. Charlie, there's so many things I want to say and comment on what you did, but I can't because it's unprofessional. But the key to everything is communication, and we have to be open. We have to be open to ideas, and I'd love to keep talking about that. And if you want to call me, I'll talk to you about it.
Marta, would you like to go?
My parents were my greatest resource when working with my students. They knew the most about my students. If I had a question, they were the ones I could call. If a parent called me who had a question about something, I wanted to talk with them. I had some parents, I knew their voice because we spoke so much about the kids. I've served on committees where we've worked with staff, school staff, and community members to solve problems and come up with positive solutions for the district. And that was important, to bring input from community members and parents in solving those problems, because it's not just us, it's us.
Thank you.
I've been attending school board meetings for the last 3 years, and the number of parents who have come in and taken time out of their day to talk to the school board about issues they've had has been less than a handful. I probably couldn't count them on my fingers. And that's disappointing. Granted, as a parent, I didn't get up and speak either, but I was there being active and trying to see what was going on. I think one of the worst things we're dealing with right now in our schools, not one of the worst things, is a 24-hour news cycle. We hear about nonsense going on in California and in Florida, and honestly, in Columbia, Missouri, and Kansas City as well. And as a school board member, I want to be the liaison between our parents and the school district to hold them accountable for the ideals we want to pass on to our students.
Communication is key. You have good communication with your community and your school board and your teachers, and you have a solid foundation for being successful with the students at the school. Without communication, if there's a communication breakdown, then kind of turns into a big old mess. So communication, I would be totally open with communication from the public, and I think that it's vital that we have communication, and to say that you wouldn't talk to somebody, it's not ideal. We're all here for the same reason, to support our students, teachers, and we want to serve, like Jeff and all of us have said previously, we want to serve. And parent involvement is a necessity. Without parent involvement, there's some failures there.
417. No. No, I answer the phone no matter who calls, whether you're a fan of me or you've got a problem with the district or you just want to talk. I have no problem talking to anybody, any time of day. And in the end, we can't see everything from our position. We only see the very top line things. But if you're at home and you see something in a textbook that's questionable, you've got to be the eyes and ears to say, hey, look at this, because not every word is seen by someone that says, hey, this is good or not. So we need people to come forward, good people, like Matthew said, we need good people in good faith to say, hey, we're watching out for this. And if you've got a concern, I'm more than happy to listen to you, help you, guide you. He said liaison, which is a big word. I'm kind of like the operator. What's your problem? Okay, here's who you need to talk to. I'm happy to go there, but you can get more done and you know more about your issue than I do, and I'd rather get you plugged in and involved, but I'm there to help.
Okay. Just one last thing I would like to say. I think we do have a good school system here in Joplin.
Amen.
And I think one of the strengths of that school system is the community. We have a good community here in Joplin. And the more you folks can solicit input and involvement from the community, that's only going to make the school system better.
Mr. McGrew. Our next person on the list says Matthew Robertson, but that was not you. Okay, there is not another Matthew Robertson here. So Ryan Jackson is on the list. Ryan, if you'd come up and ask your question.
This would be a question for all of you, and I typed it out to kind of keep my thoughts together. But my question is, looking back roughly from 2010 to 2015, administrative choices decimated teacher retention, academic scores, and if you just go back and Google the Joplin Globe, you'll see under Dr. Jim Simpson, accredited with distinction, and about the Huff era that started changing because we lessened the requirements to graduate and academics were less important. Academics began to plummet, and financial mismanagement caused the district to lose millions of dollars in FEMA reimbursement from the 2011 tornado rebuild, even though the district hired a consultant who cautioned the then board members and administration of such frivolous spending, and it even resulted in a federal investigation from the Inspector General's office giving a scathing report of those financial practices. So seeing how those choices have had rippling effects on our students in the district as a whole, how would you as board members ensure our district does not repeat those same practices that cause such harm to our district?
Did I get the buzzer? Okay, I'll go first. I was not on the board during that time frame.
Correct.
I came in 2015, and I came for a lot of the same reasons you guys might be here, is to make a change, make a positive change, and we've come a long way. We went from single-digit reserves to now, and reserves are how much cash you have at the end of the month in your bank account to pay all your expenses. Now we're at 35% plus. We're a healthy district because we're not hiring people with one-time money. We're making sure that if we've got a one-time injection, we're not making perpetual expenses. The thing that I would say that I spoke earlier is I think we have plenty of good facilities. We don't need any more facilities for a very long time. Let's focus on our teachers, our staff, paying off our debt, and then we'll be able to put more into the district itself and the people, which is what makes the districts rather than the buildings.
I will. That's an awesome question. Could you repeat that for me, please? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know, our district is in a healthy position right now. It's been awesome. I've been on the board since 2017. It's awesome to keep moving in a positive direction and kind of get away from the stigma from previous boards and administration, to be part of it. You know, I've served with Jeff now for 5 years. And when I have an issue or a question, I call him. Generally, I'm heated up. He calms me down. You know, the majority of it, and just be honest, it's having the willpower to stand up and just say, hey, this is BS. We can't do that. You know, because we answer to our taxpayers. I'm hoping to be reelected and be part of continue this positive direction that we're moving. That's an awesome question. I wish I had more time now.
Okay, I wasn't on the board during any of that, but I was working at the high school during all of that time. And I know when Dr. Simpson was here and we were working to improve our test scores, that was the big push, improve the test scores. Well, then our persistence to graduation dropped. So then the push was, we've got to improve graduation rates. So to offset, and then we started seeing test scores start going down again. So I think one of the important things is you've got to have watchdogs watching what's going on, making sure that everyone's being, I'm going to say, honest with what we're doing as a board and also as a district. And the community needs to be watching.
So I think every decision we make as a school board needs to have the caveat is the decision we're making going to help produce the best students that we can, whether it's a financial decision, a curriculum decision, or a staffing decision. And I wasn't around during that time period they had trouble, but I know going forward that needs to be what we're working towards. Unfortunately, the state has changed the metric at which they're grading us now. There's a new MSEP 6, so we won't know for another year or 3 about whether or not we're actually being productive based on test scores from a global perspective, how we compare to other people. Kind of circling back to that, every decision has to be made, is it best for the students? And if it's, you know, spending more money here or there, is it best for the students? Yes, but we have to be we have to be responsible with we have to be good stewards of the resources we have been gifted. And we also need public input to make sure that we're doing what the public wants us to do.
I had a parent that worked for the district during that time frame, and so I know some of the trials that were going on during that time. What I can say about that is that's something that I would not want to go back to for our district, but I would definitely rely on the people that helped get the district where it is now, like Dr. Langford and Shelley Toft and Dr. Saketa, and all those that are instrumental that have that knowledge to keep us from getting to that place, be a team player with them and seek their guidance and input, and then come back to the board with it.
Thank you all.
Our next citizen on the list is Frank Thompson, or is it Thompson? Come on up.
My question's for the whole group. So Dover Hill, which is a very kind of touchy subject for a lot of people. There was a lot of wasted money with that school. We feel that there was a lot of wasted money with that school. And the school is still not done. There's still change orders and stuff like that, and they had a construction manager at risk. What are they going to do to make sure that gets done without having all these change orders and stuff? I mean, as you on the board now.
Good question. Right now, we are holding money from the contractor. I don't know, and I would love to see, I mean, I don't think we wasted money. I think we built a building in a time where we did not know. It was hard to pinpoint numbers. We were good stewards. We ordered our steel, and to get a better price and things like that. But as far as the building getting finished, and I know there are some issues over there. We are holding money from the contractor in a sub. I can't remember. Frank and I will look. But we are holding money, and they won't be paid until these issues are finished or corrected.
Well, I hope they pay the electric bill that the lights have been on forever.
Yeah. The good thing is we are LED.
I'll go ahead and give just a quick reply to that. Yeah, that's something I was concerned about. And when I came back on the board, it was the same time that the bond went up for election, which was probably a good thing. I'll say from my perspective, we still have a facility on 7th Street, the West Central building, which is still a usable building. I think we should hang on to that building to use for other district needs. There may be some adult education that's needed, but we will have to tear down the building at Columbia. That was part of the land exchange deal that they made for the property at Dover. So once that is done, then we have to look at how are we going to dispose of that also. So that project is not done and probably won't be done for another year to include everything that was in that bond issue, but I'm not necessarily in favor of more bond issues unless there is a need that goes beyond what we can foresee.
Would you like to weigh in? It should be that we're done, but
I think one of the things, and we have not been through a pandemic like we went through with, we all saw what construction prices went to. I mean, it's through the roof. The magnitude of that project was large, and it, wasted money. I know, and we talked about this, there was some money that the school was going to spend over what the bond was. I don't remember the exact numbers. For some reason, $7 million just comes to my head. Am I right on that? Mm-hmm. But a project of that magnitude, and then what we were going through because of prices, I'd love to say fluctuating, but they weren't fluctuating. They were going up and up and up and up. I think that considering what happened, we did a pretty good job. It's a beautiful school. And the students, the teachers, they deserve that because it's a safe building. But it's hard to fathom that big of a project with what we were going through with building materials.
So I also was not on the board at the time and part of it, but I do believe we must be fiscally responsible and also holding our contractors accountable so that when they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. And it's good to hear we're not paying them until the job is done. And I'm pretty sure using electricity off-peak hours, we're actually getting a credit from Empire. Someone may need to check that. So it may be actually beneficial to leave the lights on all the time.
I just believe being fiscally responsible is important for our district, and that's about all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to speak on things that I don't know, but I want to acknowledge that I heard your question and concern, so thank you.
our next question is from Pat Otero. That is the final person on the list, but if there's someone else who would want to be added in. But yeah, we have several.
My wife. One of the things you mentioned, and I so appreciate it, financially wise, my wife and I, we raised 5 kids, and God knew I needed a lot of help, so He gave me a special angel and COVID flexion, gave it to me. She's been a lot of my life for over almost 45 years now, real soon. She homeschooled all 5 of our kids, so we didn't invest in the public school system. We did it, and it was real tight, really hard. But one of the things that I'm concerned about is with what we pay in the teachers' union. That may be something that in diverting the fund, the teachers' union, and giving that to the teachers, paying the teachers and this sort of thing. Because what we're seeing, what I haven't seen, I haven't done a lot of research on how much is invested on that. but what the results are, we're wanting more. I'm thinking that's something maybe we can look into that. Why did I take my glasses off? I'm nervous. How effective is the teachers? Okay, what can parents and grandparents do to keep with the understanding what the curriculum is being taught and like what books are in the libraries? This way, help me because we're a lot of people are talking and we're concerned how to be a help, checking things out. And like you mentioned, if we're seeing something that the community, I don't think that way, have a boys compete with girls or stuff like that. We're going, I don't like these things. And they're hitting us in the media all the time. I'm going like, give us an input. How's the best way? Anyone that wants to.
How can grandparents?
Yeah. And how can we get informed the curriculum and what's being taught in the schools and looking at the libraries and this sort of thing? Just help me.
So what I would suggest is just to communicate with like your school counselors, the school counselors, high school counselors, your building principals, your superintendent, and the board. All of us are servants to the public, and any concerns that we have, I know just as the high school counselors did when I worked with them and myself, welcomed any questions like that so we could help understand, because we don't want any negative. What's the word I'm trying to say? We don't want any negativity coming due to lack of communication. So definitely just reach out, because anybody that works public education is doing it because they have a heart for students and the community. So definitely just reach out and ask.
I go back to the bond approval or the board approval on one project. I think getting involved, if knowing how to navigate Canvas, because that is the key way, and it's frustrating.
More about that would be,
and literally, you can go in and look. I only learned this just here recently because of my boy. But you can go in and look and see if they've turned in a assignment. That Canvas, it does so many things, but I didn't know about it. I'm on the school board. So how many parents out there don't know what this program will do? Yeah. It'll tell you attendance if they skip. I mean, it's everything. So I go back to that. We need to first learn the Canvas, and then I believe you can even email teachers from that.
Really?
Each individual teacher. So I'm big on everybody learning Canvas. I don't know it, and like I say, I've sat on the school board, and I couldn't tell you other than what Sarah Mwangi taught me just a couple weeks ago.
Just learning about being a grandparent now and having grandkids, so I'm learning more. That's good. That's very good.
Okay, I'll go real quick. I'd say the first thing as a grandparent or a parent is sit down at the dinner table with your kid or your grandkid and talk to them about their day. They will tell you things if you talk to them. Put these things away.
Yes.
We have a rule at our table. We put our phones on the counter when we sit at the table and we talk together, and that's how we stay involved. Plus, going to parent-teacher conferences. I've gone last month, 2 weeks ago, I went to 7 parent-teacher conferences, and my son's a junior in high school.
Bless you.
I'm still going because I want to learn. I want to know what it is that they're struggling with or what it is that they're doing good. And so just being there, the teachers get familiar with you and know what's important to you. What might be important to you may not be important to someone else. So if they get to know you, they will do their best to make sure you're informed with the things that you tell them are important. So
Communication, 100% communication.
Yeah.
well, that doesn't take a minute to say communication.
Yeah, thank you.
Marta, would you like to weigh in?
Sure. That is communication. As Michelle said, call. Talk to the school principal, the school counselor, the classroom teachers. And Canvas is great to look at syllabus, to know what's going on in the class. But a person, to talk directly to an individual, is the best way to go. I used to always say I didn't have all the answers, but I knew where to find the information that someone might need. And there's nothing wrong with being that parent who calls and asks questions, because you're the parents that we need to hear from.
Right.
I'm going to reiterate and say that the 24-hour news cycle and national news are terrible, and because they're painting a picture of all kinds of insanity that is happening on a national level that's not happening in Joplin schools, which is fantastic.
Praise God, amen, yeah.
But parental involvement, if you must follow the chain of command, because you want to talk to the person closest to your student. Because if Billy's not, Sally's not doing well in her class, talking to the teacher and figuring out why they're not doing well is the first place to start. And then when you see problems, contact your school board. They're at-large seats. I've had a lot of questions asked about which district you're running for, but all the seats are at large. So go alphabetically, however you want to do. Just go find our numbers, give us a call, or show up at the school board meeting and ask the question in person. It's once a month, and we'd love to. I want to have input from the community because, again, we're representatives for the community to the school district.
God bless you, young people. Thank you. God bless.
And we have time.
He wanted to ask 5 questions, but he was only allowed 2. So if she's watching, he tried.
Thank you. And Josh Bard, you wanted to add a question? So this will be our final question from the audience.
Hi, guys. Coming out of the pandemic, there's naturally going to be an imbalance in different areas with the virtual school and brick and mortar. What are you going to do or are doing to watch the truancy, the test scores, et cetera, post-COVID?
Okay, Jeff Koch. One of the things that I've maybe been known for is data collection or data analysis. So we're collecting more data. We have a war room up in the administration building that's a room about 1/3 of the size of this. And on every wall, there are charts that show attendance. If you look at the high school, there's a chart that shows what the weekly attendance is for each grade level. And they're competing against grade levels for, hey, who's going to have the best attendance? So getting the kids involved, I'm real true to you perform to what you're measured by. And if we're measuring by attendance, we're measuring by grades, we're measuring by things that are important for us, those are the things that automatically the students, the teachers, the staff, everybody is going to see as important. So I think getting those numbers out and available, looking at trends, and if you see things trending in the wrong direction, then you know where to focus as opposed to looking at it from the top level. So I think breaking it down, data, element by element, looking at the trends over time.
Coming out of the pandemic, there is naturally going to be an imbalance in different areas with the virtual school and brick and mortar. What are you going to do or are doing to watch the truancy, the test scores, et cetera, post-COVID?
While they think about it, so I love the idea that we're using analytics or we're using data to track the numbers of what students are doing what, because with actual data we can figure out how to solve the problem. It's not an emotional decision. It's not, well, I think we should do this, I think we should do that. We can do something, watch the trends, and see the results, which is exactly what we need to be doing. I'm learning about this war room, and it sounds like something I'm excited to see when you guys elect me as your school board representative.
So I know with virtual, one of the ways they look at attendance is students actively working on their assignments and being online. And I haven't spoken with the virtual instructor for over a year now since I'm retired, but I know that was always difficult as counselors to figure out, are they doing the work, are they not doing their work? And that's one of the things I know that they're adding the data and making it easier to access that information. Most important thing as far as attendance in brick and mortar is making sure that teachers take attendance, because that doesn't always happen, especially at the high school level. At least it didn't.
Thanks, Maura.
So I would have to say I can speak definitely for, well, not definitely, but I know for the virtual side of things, and now that they have a counselor that's there full time to monitor those concerns where there wasn't one before, that is very beneficial to have that there, and they're keeping track of that, and they've got some really awesome administration there right now that cares about the students, and I see on a daily basis how many students are graduating from our alternative program. Myself being an alternative student, I will definitely pay close attention to what's going on there because they're near and dear to my heart. For brick and mortar, I have to kind of go off of what Marta had said as well. There's multiple factors in the big high school on if our teachers have taken attendance on time and things of that nature. So I'm glad to see our data-driven people are on top of things, and I hope to still encourage those.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to answer that as well because I don't think you got to here, Josh. Jeff is correct. Everything's driven by data, and I think the district is getting really pushed towards this war room. I've only seen pictures of it. I've not ever been able to go up. I've toured other schools, haven't toured the administration building, but seeing, and they're collecting every bit of data, and Jeff's a data guy. He loves that kind of stuff. I feel really, really good about what our administration's doing in tracking that data, and it literally is every minute of every second when you see those boards. So I feel positive. I would love to give you more answers. I need to go see the war room first.
I was going to say, can we get
I'll
any?
show pictures afterwards.
Yes, dude,
Jeff's
please,
probably
yes.
got some. It is phenomenal.
Send them to you.
I would love to see that war room as well. We do. Thank you. All right. So the majority of the area schools are enjoying a program called MOCAPS at Missouri Southern. How do you all feel about the program, and why is Joplin School District not in it for you two?
I'll go first. So Missouri Southern's MOCAPS is not a bad program. It's a good program if you don't have something in place at your school already. We have 4 dual credit programs at Joplin schools: Missouri Southern, Crowder College, Ozark Technical College, Missouri S&T. All 4 programs are after similar profiles of students, and we have them right there at school. And Marta's counseling, you get to your junior and senior years, there's almost no room to put anything else in. And they're talking about taking students out 3 hours a day, sending them to a campus across town to go 2 hours a day and then come back. So they're going to lose the opportunity to take additional courses at Joplin High School. There's also the financial impact of it, where we would be spending taxpayer monies to pay another institution to do the education. I would much rather do it where they send an instructor to the high school where our students are, so they don't have to miss any extra classes. And we could do it ourselves, pay our teachers a stipend like we're doing now.
I have notes on this one because I figured this question would come up. And I just like I said when we voted, we shouldn't be paying for spots that we're not utilizing. First and foremost, the program's not designed to be a money-making entity. And that's kind of what it felt like to me. The second is the community partnerships. They should be enhanced and utilized, but not outsourced to our area colleges. It's not taking any support away from Missouri Southern at all, but we have the facilities and several programs that we can do virtually the same thing, if not the same, even better, and that benefits our teachers, our school district. We want to enhance our learning processes within our district. So while it sounds like a great program, it benefits a top select few of students. We need to worry about the students that are on the lower end or in the middle. We can talk about this all night, and I'm sorry, but...
We can, if you want to.
Yes. Thank you, Josh.
Does anyone else
I sent
have
you
a
those
question?
pictures.
Well, thank you all for participating in our forum. We do want to tell everyone who is watching live, or if you see this on Facebook Live, that this is being recorded and will be replayed on KGCS TV tomorrow at 7 o'clock, again on Sunday before the election as well, and it will be posted to the Missouri Southern KGCS YouTube page. So we thank you all for participating. We thank you, our audience, for being here, and thank you for watching, and have a good night.
Thank you,
Please
everybody.
vote April 4th.
Thank you very much.